Hello everyone, welcome to this session on getting started with Git and GitHub and making your first contribution to open source. Myself Priyansh Garg from IIITM Jabalpur. So what is Git? Git is basically a version control system. And what do we mean by version control system? Our version control system keeps track of all the changes made in your computer files. And not only that, it also keeps track of who made those changes and when. So basically, for every single line in your code base, you can tell who wrote this line and when this line was written. Isn't that amazing? So how it basically does that is it divides the entire history of your code base into different versions. That is, you can create a new version of your code base every time you make some changes and are satisfied with those. Along with that, you may also write a small message explaining what changes you made in that version and why. So let's take an example. Let us consider you have this file containing these three lines in your current version of the code base. Now now you may want to add a new line in this. So you write that new line in the file and create a new version of the code base out of it. You may also write a small message explaining what changes you made in this version. And then maybe later you want to remove that line. So you remove the line from the file and create a new version of your code base. For this new version also, you write a small message, remove a line to explain what changes you made after the last version. Git will automatically attach your identity with all the versions you create. And then whenever you like, you may go back to any version in your code base history and see how your code base looked like back then, and or go to any line and see why this line was written and who wrote it. But is it the only software which does that? No, there are many other softwares in this line, like Mercurial and Bazaar. But Git is by far the most popular and most widely used software. Also, it is a distributed version control. What it means is, let's assume you are working on a team project. So to make your project accessible to all your teammates, you must put it in some remote server where everyone can access it. So in a distributed version control, you can have a copy of your project with all its history on your system itself and can work on the project offline. And then when you're done with making the required changes, send a new version created by you to the server by connecting to the internet, and it will automatically merge those changes with the main project. That is, you and your teammates don't need to be always connected to each other on a same network to work collaboratively, which is what happens in centralized version control. An example of centralized version control you all must have used is Google Docs. You and your friends need to be always connected to Google Docs to make any changes in that file. But with Git, you can work offline with your copy of files and then send those changes to the server. And Git will smartly merge those changes to the main project on the server. So it coordinates the work between multiple developers in a much better way. So now let us all dive into how Git works and some of its key concepts. It may seem a little complicated at first, but it will get easier when you start using it. And on learning just a few concepts, you'll start to love it. So the first key concept is snapshots. Snapshots are the way Git keeps track of your code history. The version we were talking about up until now, well, they are called snapshots in the language of Git. Snapshots are what essentially records what a file looks like at a given point in time. And like I've told you before, it is us who decides when a new version of our code base is to be created or when a snapshot is to be taken, which is generally when we've tested the effects of all our changes thoroughly and are completely satisfied with them. And we can also decide out of all the changes we've made, which change to include in a snapshot and which not. And then we have the ability to go back and visit any snapshot in the code history and see what all the files look like at that point of time. Now you all must be thinking that Git stores how all files look like at different points in time. So does it keep on making a copy of our files or an entire project somewhere to do so? Well, no, not at all. That would be disastrous, wouldn't it? What it actually does is, instead of making a copy of your files and storing it, it stores the it only stores the changes you've made since the last snapshot you took. In short, whenever you take a snapshot, what it stores is the difference between the current snapshot and the previous snapshot, somewhere in a directory called .git. So what exactly is this .git directory we just mentioned? Well, .git is that magical place where the complete history of your entire project is saved. And like most of the magical place, .git is hidden by default in your main project directory. So now let's move on to the next and the most important key concept of Git, commit. A commit is basically an act of taking a snapshot. That is a verb. So whenever you're taking a snapshot out of your changes, you're actually committing your changes. But mostly in almost every conversation you'll have with any technical person, commit is used as a noun to replace snapshot or version. Thus, commit, snapshot, and version can be used interchangeably. And like most of the other people out there, from now we use commit to refer to a snapshot or a version of our code base. So essentially, a commit or a snapshot contains three pieces of information. First one, all the changes that you've made since the last commit. Second, information about who made those changes and when. That is the identity of the person who committed those changes. And at last, a reference to the commit that came before it. That is the last commit, or what we call as its parent commit. This is how Git knows with respect to which commit the changes in the current commit are made. So uh, this is what a typical commit looks like. This big string you are seeing here is the name of the commit. Pretty long, huh? But don't worry. You don't have to remember this whole name or use this whole name anywhere to mention this commit or to go to any specific commit in history. What you can do is you can just take the first 6 to 7 letters of this whole name and use that name as a as for mentioning the commit, and you will be good to go. And this small name you are seeing here, it is the parent of this commit. As you can see here, they've only used the first 7 letters of the whole commit name, and Git still recognizes it. I hope the concept of commit is clear by now. If you have any doubts at all, feel free to clear them on our Discord server. Also, we'll be starting an hands-on session for all this in just a few minutes. So stay tuned. So now let's move on to our next key concept, repository, or what we call as repo. Our repository is a place where all your files in which you are tracking changes using Git resides, along with the complete history of those files. It is basically a folder inside which you are using Git to track all the changes, a place where all your hard work is stored. And it is inside this folder only where .git directory resides. You may also consider it as your main project directory. Our repository can live on your local computer or on a remote server from where anyone whom you have given permission to can access it. So now let's move on to the last key concept I'll be talking about in this session, Git branch. Our branch represents an independent line of development. What it means is, let's assume you are working on a project which is in a very stable state right now. That is, it works super fine and has no issues at all. Now you want to add a new feature in it, but you're afraid that you may end up messing up the complete project and it will no longer be in a stable state. So you don't want to take any chances by making any changes there. So conventionally, what will you do to tackle this problem? Well, you'll make a new copy of your project and start working on it, keeping the original copy safe. But what if this happens very frequently? Think of how many copies you may end up making, and how difficult would it be to keep track of which copy contains what changes, and not to mention how much extra space you may end up using just for a single project. So, is there any alternative for this? Well, yes, it is here for the rescue. Creating a new branch in your Git repository acts just like creating a new copy of a project, but it's a lot easier in this case to track which branch contains what changes, and best of all, it does not consume any extra space. And just like working on a new copy of your project, working on a new branch will not affect the original copy of your hard work project in any way, which by the way resides in a branch called master, which is a default branch in any repository. So you can freely experiment anything in your new branch. Your original code will be safe. And then when you are satisfied with all the changes you have made in your new branch, that is, they work properly and does not break anything, you can merge your new branch into the master branch. So your master branch always moves from one stable state to another. And for all the experiment work you do, like adding a new feature or fixing a bug, it is always better to create a new branch so as to keep your original master branch safe and sound and always in a working state. So this is what a typical branch looks like. These nodes you are seeing here are the commits, and the this line which is containing the blue nodes is your master branch. So let's assume here you wanted to add a new feature. So you created a new branch out of the master branch and started working on a new feature. And after making a bunch of commits, let's assume right here you have tested your changes and they were completely fine and you are completely satisfied with your changes. Then you may merge your new branch into the master branch so that the master branch always moves from one stable state to another. And these commits you are seeing here, it may happen that when you are working on this new branch, your friends were working on something else and they merged their code into the master branch. So your master branch is always moving in a from one stable state to another, and it will go on like this. So guys, this is all from my side. Now follow my colleague Aditya Vats to get some hands-on experience into using Git.
Okay, so this is where we are. So as Priyank sir already explained to you all what Git is and what are the core concepts of Git are that make it quite accessible and powerful. So I would be telling you about commands that Git uses, through which we talk to Git, we tell Git to store something or to not store something based on how things are. Like if you like something, you want to keep that thing, so you have to commit those things. And if you don't like something, or you want to try new things, you can create new branch. So we would be seeing how these things are done. So for those people who have Git installed on their system, they can try these things with me, or also they can try these things after the session. So if you had Git installed, you can check this with this command, Git version. So this tells you what your Git version is. Like if Git is not installed on your system, you can't see the result of this. It will show you that there is no command such as Git. So as Git is installed, it is showing the version. So we'll try all the Git commands in a new directory so that we don't disrupt any things elsewhere. So let's make a new directory first. So mkdir is a command that creates new directories or folder. This is same for Windows and Linux. So people using Windows command prompt also can use mkdir. There is no issue. So we can say that, see that, oh, sorry. There is demo folder created here, as you can see. So demo is created through mkdir. People using Windows can use dir to list the directories. Like in Linux, we use ls, but in people using Windows can use dir to list the directory to see if the folder is created or not. Okay, let's navigate to demo. So cd is a command for navigating to a folder or a path or coming back. So cd is just for navigation through one place to where in the system. So demo is the path. Now we are on in the demo folder. You can see here at the prompt that it's like it's written now user/demo. So like we are inside demo now. Okay, so demo is empty. We can see that ls doesn't returns anything. So demo is an empty folder. So now we should start using Git. First of all, there are a lot of commands in Git. So you can see all the commands through here, Git help. So this shows you a list of commands that there are in Git, common commands. So don't be intimidated by commands. You will remember everything just by using again and again. And also you have cheat sheets and things to refer. So don't be like, there's a lot of commands, so don't be intimidated. So we want to version control of something. So let's first create something and we'll see how Git helps in controlling the version or changes or to track changes of something. So let's create something. Touch is a command to create some file. So let's create some file. Okay. So I am creating just a txt file. You can see here that trygit.txt has been created. So this file is empty. I have just created this. You can try this file. See this see what the contents of this file are through cat command. These are very basic commands. Touch cat, touch creates a file. Cat, you can see what a file, what inside a file is. So cat doesn't returns anything. That means this file is empty. Okay, let's put something in this file. Nano is an editor. You can try this note on notepad or anything. This is not an issue. This is just a medium. You can try this to anything to create file or to put something. So I'll just write something for in this file. Let's say we are trying it, if it is useful or not. Okay. So let's again see what trygit file contains. So previously it was empty, but now we can see that there is something inside it. So we have created file with something inside it. Now I would be taking an analogy of a bank passbook where the transactions are recorded to show you how Git works. Like it would be simple to understand then. So let's see, let's assume that this is a transaction. Like you are making something, it's a transaction, and you want to record the transaction once its transaction is done. Like now we are doing the transaction. So I have created a file. Now, how would Git know that this repo is tracked by Git? Means how would Git recognize this? So the answer told you that there is a .git folder where everything is stored. But as you can see, there is no .git folder here. So the command for that is git init. So git init creates a .git folder inside a demo, inside a directory, which is demo here. That then tells the Git that this directory is to be tracked by Git. So Git maintains it then. Like if we do this, so there is a message initialized empty Git repository in the path. So let's see ls again. So you can see there is a .git folder now, and there is a trygit.txt, which was before also. So this .git folder now is the main crucial part, as Git now recognizes this and maintains this repository. if you delete this .git folder, everything is lost. Every history, version control you have, everything is lost. So now, as this is now a Git repo, so how would we know that what's going on? Like, so there is a command git status. This tells you what's going on. It's what Git is seeing, what Git is doing behind. So git status shows on branch master. So master is a default branch. Priyansh told you all about the branches. So master is a default branch, the main branch you will be working on. So you can create side branches for your to try new things, but by default the default branch is master. No commits yet because we have not committed anything, and there is untracked files, trygit.txt. So this file we have created is not tracked, means Git doesn't acknowledge it now. So we want to track that. So it's like a transaction. We want to see what's happening in that transaction. So there is a command git add and the file name. So here the file name would be trygit.txt. After we do this, now Git is tracking that file. So how do you know that Git is tracking that file? So again we will use git status. So git status now shows that changes to be committed. New file trygit.txt. So now Git tracks these files. Now Git knows that there is a new file by this name and it can be committed. So do we need to commit? Okay, like we are satisfied with the version right now we have. Like we have put inside something trygit.txt and we are satisfied. So let's commit this. Let's store this transaction. Git commit. Now if we just git commit, it won't commit. It shows an error aborting commit due to empty commit message. Now as in a transaction, you have a transaction ID. So similarly here, commit has a commit ID that is created by Git, and it's quite important for Git. Along with commit ID, there is a message, commit message, associated with every commit, which tells you, it will help you in future to reference back why that commit was done, or anyone else using your code base to know why this commit was done, what that commit was all about. So we need to put a commit message. So the way to put a commit message is to put an options -m, git commit -m. -m shows that there is a commit message, and you have to put message in double quotes. Like here I am putting message as added trygit file. Now afterwards I can see that this was what I have done in this commit, because this message would be shown to me. So put the message here that is quite focused on whatever you are changing in this commit. Keep it short. So like, okay. So I have committed this. Here you can see that master root commit, there is a commit ID that also sir told you in the last slide that there is a commit ID. It is the first starting letters of that commit ID. One file changed and one insertions. So after every commit, Git shows a summary, like how many files changed, how many modified, how many deleted, what are the insertions, what are the deletions, a brief summary. So now again we'll say git status. So on git status you can see that we are on branch master and nothing to commit because we have already committed this. Okay, let's start making new transactions. Let's make some new changes. Like let's create some new files. So I created a new txt file and old txt file, one HTML file. Okay, so we have created now 3 new files. You can see these. So there are now 3 new files here apart from trygit.txt. So let's see what Git is doing. What Git thinks. So according to Git, there are 3 untracked files and everything is as it was before. So yes, we have not changed trygit.txt and we have added 3 new files. So Git is showing that. So we need to track these files so that Git will now acknowledge them. We have to put 3 commands like git add index.html, git add new.txt. So there is a short workaround for this. Git add dot. Now this adds everything, whatever there is untracked or changed, it adds everything. Or you can use // dash all. That's all. This is also the same thing, but you can also use this on both, do the same thing. So let's again see git status. Now you can see that git has taken in account everything. Now it shows that there are 3 new files. Okay, so do we want to commit? Okay, let's see, we do not want to commit, we want to change trygit.txt file now. So nano trygit.txt, and let's we add another line. That is nice. Okay, that's so again we will see what git status shows. So you can see that git shows that there are 3 files, new files that it has tracked that are ready to be committed, and there is one file that is not staged yet. That is not staged means it has been not, it is not same as before. So git recognizes that this file is modified. You can see here that there is an label. There is new file, there is modified. Modified means it file has been modified. So git recognizes that. So as before, we will use git add dot, it takes into account everything, and we'll check git status for what is happening, and everything has been taken into account. And let's commit these things. Commit am, and there's message. So
Aditya,
made some.
Aditya,
Okay.
please just go a bit slower.
Okay. So we have modified some files, added some files. So after adding git add, now git add commands takes into account everything that has changed. So as everything has been taken into account by change, you can commit those changes. Like you, if there is a transaction happening, and now you are satisfied with the transaction, like you are having some profit or whatever you want, it's happening. So you want to stop the transaction there and record it, like, okay, just record this. So that's what commit is. Commit takes the snapshot and keeps it. Like, there is what version control is all about, because now we have a version, and again now we are changing things and seeing what's going on. Again we are going and coming to a new location, and we are saying that okay, this thing is better than before. So again we are committing those changes, and now we again have a new version. So this is how version controlling works. So before we have just one file, trygit.txt. Now we have 3 new files, and we have also modified the previous file. And git now takes into account everything, and we want to store these things as it is, like we are satisfied with whatever this is. So after git add, we have to commit these changes. Commit makes the record, like it takes the snapshot. So git commit, I already told you that there needs to be a message with every commit in git. So -m is the commit that there is a message, and you have to put a message here. So I am putting made some new changes. So this is my message, and I'm committing that. So after commit, git shows a summary that 4 files changed, 1 insertions, and everything about other 3 files created. So this is how, so we have committed. Now we want to see what happened like in previous commit. So there is a command git log. It's just like you see logging tells you what has been happening till now. So git logs, this is git log. So git log, you can see there is a commit ID here. So that the answer told you all about that, is quite long. So you don't need to know everything about this. These IDs are quite important. They store everything about a commit. You can see that with every commit there is a new message here, that the message I have been putting on, like with commit this made some new changes, with previously added trygit file. So if you have good message, good commit message, you can also see afterwards what that commit is all about. You know, like after some time you want to change something in your code that you have done previously, so you need to find something. So through commit message you can do this thing. So put good commit message. Okay, so this is about git log. Let's see another thing about branches. So the answer told you about Git branches. Branches are quite important concept. Like we want to try some new thing, and we don't know if this thing will work out or not. Like it may break everything else we have made till now. So that's why branches are used to try new things. You know, try things, see if this is working or not. If this thing works, then it's good. We can just merge it into main branch, and if it didn't, delete the branch then. So let's create some branch. So git branch new. A git branch is command, and new is the name of the branch that we are creating. So this creates a new branch. You can see what all the branches through here. Git branch v. This shows you all the branches. Like there is a master branch, and it's green. So we are on the master now, and there is a branch new. So we want to go to new branch. So git checkout. Now checkout command helps you to traverse between branches, like go from this branch to that. So git checkout new. There is a git checkout branch name. So we want to go to new. So new. So you can see the message switch to branch new. Now we are on the branch new. We can check git status. So there is nothing to commit. Working tree clean. So we can make some edits here, and we will see that master's code doesn't changes. Whatever there is on master doesn't changes. It all changes on new branch. So let's make some changes first. So there we have files index new and old.txt. Okay, just change old.txt then. Old dot. Sorry. Okay, we'll put something inside this. Okay. So we have changed the old.txt file. So let's see what's inside the old.txt. So you can see that old.txt contains this, and we are on the master. We are on the branch new. Okay, let's go to branch master and see what old.txt contains. Git checkout master and cat old.txt. So okay, it merged. Sorry. So this was the old.txt file we have created. We have edited.
Aditya, you also need to commit your changes. This new branch.
Oh, yeah. So sorry. Yeah, that's why it has. So where here we are on the new branch, so we can see git status. So git again recognizes that the old.txt file is modified. So we need to commit these changes to record this changed old file. Okay, sorry, I didn't take it into account. So git git recognizes that old.txt file has been modified, and we need to acknowledge git for that, like git add. Again, check for git status. So now git recognizes that old.txt has been modified and it has been staged, so it can be committed. So we need to commit now. Modified old file. So this is our commit message, and it has been committed. So now git status will show that nothing to commit, working tree clean, and you can see that cat old.txt contains this. Okay, let's check out to master and see what old.txt contains. Now we are on master. So on master old.txt contains nothing as before, because we have done all the changes on the new branch. So master old.txt same file on master contains nothing, but on the new branch same file contains something. So now if you have done something on a branch and you think now that this is good and you want to merge this. Now what is merge? Merging is like there is a different branch and there are some changes in there and you want to merge that with the main branch. Like you have tried some things and now you're satisfied with those things, you are merging that with a main branch. Like there always would be a main branch for your production, like for whatever you are doing or whatever you are making. So first we can see there is a command git diff that helps you see the difference between two branches. So we will see what the difference between these two branches are. So let's see what the difference between git master and new are. Git diff. You put the name of the branches which you want to make the difference between. So you can see here that master is A and new is B, and you can see there are two difference plus plus, and it shows what the difference is. So similarly you can see the difference between any two branches by just naming git diff and the name of branches. Now we want to merge this, like we want to merge the new branch into the master branch because we are satisfied with whatever the new has. So git merge new. So now it has been merged. The commit has been updated, the head has been updated, like the main parent commit has been updated, and one file changed, two insertions. You can see through the summary. Okay, so previously old.txt on master had nothing. Now let's see what old.txt had on master. So we can see that now old.txt has the same thing that we have put in on the new branch. So this is how branching works, how you try new things, and then these are just simple example, but if you are making a large project, you can try new things without making your main project collapse. So now we can see git branch. There are two branches and now we are done with new, so we need to delete that branch. So you can delete the branch with git branch -d new. So that branch has been deleted. Now you are just clear and you can see git status. Okay, sorry, git status. So on branch master nothing to commit and we have used the git. Okay, so this is how branching works. You now know how to add things and commit things. You can also make new branches and check out to them simultaneously by this workaround. Git checkout /b and the branch name, like we can again take new. So by this command git checkout b new, you are also creating a new branch and also switching to that branch, like switch to new branch new. So this also creates the new branch, and like if we had to make new branch, we can make git branch new one and then git checkout new one. So this whole process can be done in single command, git checkout /b new 2. So this is a workaround for faster processing. We have a lot of branches now. Master new 1 new 2. We are on new 2. Okay, let's go to master. So this is how, and you can always see git log to see what has changed. Now we have 3 commits. The first one, the recent one, is modified old file. Before that we have made some new changes. This would be a quite long list if you're working on a big project. So you can see the recent logs here. So this is all. Now you are using git, so you are using a certain command like git commit, and you want to know what options are. So git commit -- help. This lists you a detailed help about that command, which you can read. It's quite long, but it's quite elaborate, and it consists of everything. It's like official documentation. But if you don't have that much time, you can also see git commits -h, and this shows you in short summary what the other options with commit are. So use these things. Okay, I just wanted to say one thing, that people who have installed git on their system need to configure git for their own use. So there is a command git config which helps you configure git for the first time you install, or like there are many types of configuration. You can globally configure git for, like, you can use for every user there are same settings, or you can also configure them for local use, like for your own use. So the commands for, you can find these references online quite easily, but for this command is, like, we want to make a local user dot name okay, first see what there is already. So this is already in the configuration file, git config list. So there are some things that are already in the config file, but these are global things. So let's make some local things, so you will know how configuration settings are done. Local user dot name. So I've just said that local user name would be avats, like whatever you want to do. And similarly, you can set email, like if you are using uh, afterwards when you are using remotes and other things, these things would be necessary. So configuration is important. So whatever you want to put, like put anything. Okay, invalid key, you need to put a real email. So git config local list. You can see that now user dot name. Okay, git config local list. Okay, so this is how you can set things up, like git config local user dot name. So locally I'm putting a username, and you can see here the settings. So dash dash list what the settings are. So right now these are the settings. You can set your editor and anything, but basically these are just important for setting your username and email for if you are using remotes. So this is for me. Now Manan will tell you how these commands and how these things are used for in real life. So if you want to contribute to a real world project, how these things are used, and how what remotes are, and how to, and he will also guide you towards contributing a real world project. That uh, so Manan, continue. Thanks.
Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you, Aditya.
Okay, so first of all, if you have any doubt related to what has been told up till now, you can just ask me in the chats. So first, let's go through with that, because if you want to make real world app, use this all things in real world, you need to understand the basics correctly. So if you have any doubt, just type those in the message box. We will just wait for 2 minutes, then we will move on to Git remote part. Okay, so Rishabh has a doubt. If we revert back to older version after the commit, changes will persist or not? Consider you can see it from this slide. If you are currently on feature tip node, this one green node, and you revert back to this node, so all the changes you did in these both commits would be reverted back, and you would only be able to see the commits or the changes you had done till this snapshot. Uh, how to change the location of the Git repository? You can just copy and paste it, cut and paste it somewhere else if you want to. Uh, like I have this as my Git repository. This is one of my Git repository. I can just cut it and paste it anywhere. It doesn't matter. Any other questions? You can ask related to Git commit or branches, how they were made, anything, Git checkout, anything you like. Okay. No, so I will move on to the next part. Okay, so about 90% of version control related work which you do happens in the local repository. Moreover, if you are the only person working on your project, chances are you will never need to set up a remote repository. But when it comes to sharing data with your teammates or someone who is interested in your project, uh, the best way of sharing things is a remote repository. What is a remote repository, you would ask? A remote repository is a copy of your local repository or your local project work in which you are working, and it is just uploaded to a hosting site like GitHub, GitLab, etc. As you now understand, as you might now understand what remote repository means, it's just the repository which has been uploaded to a server from where anyone can view it. Now let us see how contribution would work and collaborating in a project would work. For collaborating or contributing to any project, we first need to find where these repositories are uploaded and are managed. This brings us to project hosting sites like GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitLab, etc. These hosting sites hold your project with its history of commits. Moreover, anyone that is interested in your project and wants to let you know about any bug or any enhancement can open an issue where you can communicate about that particular issue or enhancement, and they can also open a pull request. I will make you understand what a pull request is ahead. Or someone can come and review your code if it is right or not. You have done the implementation rightly. There is any bug, they can tell you all about it on GitHub, and you can communicate there easily. Now, as you all would be having a GitHub account, in this section we would just go through some commands and concepts and will apply them at same time. But first, let's try to understand the workflow when you would be working with someone else, someone else's online repository. Most of the time when you are new to a project, you won't have the access to directly modify the main repository. Like consider a case when you are working, when you would be working for a Microsoft or Google or any other big company. Their project is you would make a local copy of that project, right? You would just download the code or copy the code from your local repository. You can't just go on and upload the upload code to original repository. This shouldn't be done, because consider someone, some notorious person who just wants to come and delete some part of the code. The system would break, right? And this would cause vulnerabilities. So for that purpose, you just first need to make an online copy of your code. That's called the forked branch, or the forked repository. I will tell you more about forking ahead, but just now for understanding the workflow, think of just making an online copy of the main repository, and then you would download that repository locally. So whenever you make changes, you would be uploading your changes to the forked repository or the online copy you have made. And whenever you want to make some changes to the original code, like you want to add something new, some new enhancement, or you want to fix a bug, you would open a pull request. Okay, pull request is simply a request that please would you like to merge my code into your online repository or original repository, so that it can be seen by other people and it can be used in production. And for that particular reason, we use pull request. That means first you need to make an online copy of original code and always make changes to it, and when you want them merged, you will make a pull request. So overall workflow is first make an online copy of original remote repository and then download that repository. And while uploading, first upload it to your online copy that was forked branch and make a pull request from there. This brings us to our first concept, forking. Now, first thing you would ask is how do I make an online copy for that purpose? We use forking. Forking is just making an online copy under your account. Now, I am sharing you a link of this repository we would be working on ahead. Okay, so just copy this link and go on with me, and I will tell you about how to fork this and do everything. So for forking, you just need to click this button here available. And one thing more I want to tell you about is the whenever you open a GitHub repository, whenever you open it, there might be a README page below all the code files. This README page is set up by the main managing part of the working team, or the team working on this project. And this README is here to help you and guide you through what the things that are to be changed, what are the things that are available, how to install it, how to make different changes, how to commit, or many other things, how to install, and etc etc. But here we have used this repository to make you understand how you would make your first commit. All these things are written here. If you want to check out afterwards how to do it properly, or you forget, you can just come here and see how it is done. Okay, so now I will fork this repository, and when I click on this, it asks under which ID I want this. I want this under my ID, so I will just click on it. And being forked, check now, I can just go to my repositories list, and there I will find this first bit. Now you can see earlier the first bit had a name bitbyte tpc/first bit. Here I can see Manoj Jetwani/first bit. This means I have made an online copy. I can make the pull request from here, as you can see, and all the code is same as it is, and just and it shows from where it is forked. The next step, as we know, is to make available this online copy offline. So for that purpose, we have two methods. First method is by directly downloading the zip. You can do this, or if you want to use the terminal and git commands, the simple command for this is git clone. So let's just do that first. Just write git clone and just paste the URL that was available under the code here. Don't paste this link, just paste this one. There's just a simple difference here. It has .git at the end, but you should use this one. Then only it will be copied. And when you press enter, this will be cloned. And as you can see, I have, sorry. I will just. So as you can see, right now I am in development folder and there is no repository here named first bit. And then we will just go on and do git clone and paste this command. And this will just create the repository here. And as you can see now here, the first bit is present. Okay, and let's go into first bit now. And if you want to check if previous commits that were made to this repository online, you can just use git log, and I prefer to use -1 line. This helps me log them in a single line, like using git log makes shows so many commits in different lines. Just use git log -1 line. It shows you the basic information in just one line: the ID, where the head is, and what is the name of that particular or the message that particular commit holds. Okay, so now the next thing after cloning is, okay, so before moving to next part, one thing to remember is that offline copy is now linked to the online repository from where you cloned it. This doesn't mean that as I make changes, they will be reflected there in, it just means when I will try to upload it, it will remember where it has to upload code. This brings us to our next command, git remote. Git remote command Git remote command is used to tell which remote repo are linked and from where I can get some part of code or upload some part of code for this project. Let's type this command here and see what it does. So I will just write git remote and press enter. So now you can see origin written here. Now what does this origin means? It means origin is a name for the remote repo from where this code was copied. Like you know that this code was copied from Manan Jetwani / first bit. It's the first bit we have in our local or computer is the copy of this online repository. So when I write another command, git remote -v, this is just to show origin is linked to which URL. We can see it is linked to Manan Jetwani / first bit. Okay, so whenever you want to go to a branch or check out a branch, first of all, if you want to check all the branches that were present in the online part, usually when you write the command git branch, it just shows you the branches that are available locally. But as we go here, we can see there are multiple branch other than this. For that purpose, we could just write git branch -a. What it does is it also shows all the remote branches. You can see remotes, and then origin is used for the for this Manan Jetwani / first bit, as you can see, and you can understand these things, right? Now, using remote command, you can also add multiple remote repos. But then you would say, what is the need for that, right? Right now, why would I link my repository to Manan Jetwani / first bit as well as some other repository like ABC / first bit? This needs to be done because let's consider while you were working on something offline, someone made a pull request to original code and it got merged. Now what you need got merged. Now you need those changes as well, right, so that you can stack up your changes over the latest version of the code. Like someone made a commit 1 and commit 2 are being made, and they have been merged to the to bit by TCP / first bit. And and in your repository, in your local machine, you don't have those commits, commit 1 and commit 2. You would require those commit 1 and commit 2, so that when you try to make a pull request, it doesn't raises any conflicts that your commit doesn't have commit 1 and commit 2 before it, right? You need for that purpose, we would require to follow the original repository as well, that was bit byte TCP / first bit. And we do this by command git remote add alias and URL. Okay, so just see git remote add alias URL. This what this command does, when we write git remote add I can write any alias here and the URL for that particular alias. You would ask, what is alias and why is it needed? Alias is needed so that Git can identify which remote repo we are talking about. Like for the remote repo from where we cloned, we used origin. That was Manan Jetwani / first bit as alias. Usually for the original repo, we use upstream. So if I want to track my copy of this repository, I am using origin. And at the same time, if I want to use bit-byte TPC / first bit, or I want to track this, as this is the original version, we use alias upstream. It is generally considered to use upstream. You can also use up or ABC, anything you want, but upstream is preferred usually. So just write git remote add upstream, and as we did for cloning, we would just go and see the link here, just copy it and paste it here. Okay, so now if you write git remote, it would show you the origin and upstream. What this means is that you have added another, just a second, you have added another repository you are tracking, and for the same project, this is another repository that was bit-byte TPC / first bit. Now, by the time we were doing this, Priyansh sir made some changes to the original repository. Now, so that we can see other functions as well. So when I go here and reload it, it shows that the branch is one commit behind bit-byte TPC :master, which means someone merged something into the master branch here. And you can see it would update here, merge Priyansh updated commit your change in README. So in this way, now we are one commit behind. So now how would we see what changes have been performed, or how would we notice them? For that purpose, we use git fetch. So what git fetch does, it download the status of the remote repo we need to check always remember, using fetch doesn't mean we are merging it to our local master. We are just downloading the updated log under the name of remote repo like origin or upstream. Let's do this here, and I will just write git fetch. As you can see, nothing happened because our local repository was up to date with the Manan Jetwani / first bit. That was from where it was cloned. I told you, whenever we write git fetch and don't mention a remote repository, it considers origin as the repository and it tries to fetch from it. But if we have written git fetch upstream, you can see here it shows that there are updates made and what are the different branches that are present in git fetch upstream. You could just go, and if you want to check out any of those branches, you could just write upstream and master or gh actions, and you can just move go to those branches as well. Okay, now we have fetched those downloads, but this doesn't mean that we have merged those things into our main code. Our code is still behind the upstream code or the bit-byte TPC / first bit. And first of all, before making those merges, and here we know that there is a difference because we can see it here. But what if you didn't know what changes have been made? Then in those cases, you need to use the command git diff. What git diff does, it just checks for the differences between any two things you compare, like two branches or two remote repository, two commits, or even two files in different branches. Right now, we will apply it on our local master, that is master, and upstream master. So just let's go with it and just write git diff Everyone can hear me, right? Hello? Hello? Okay, thank you. So let's write this command here and see if it is working or not. We will write git diff master dot dot, and then we want to check for upstream master. And when we write this, it shows us what are the differences here. You can see commit, there is a new commit that was made for the first file. The readme.md has something reduced, and b/readme.md has some new updates. A and B A refers to the earlier master, and B refers to the another upstream master here. Okay, so you can see that there are differences here. You can use this for different remotes as well. If you want to compare a git remote, or sorry, git diff origin and upstream, you can just do that as well, and it would show you what are the difference between the origin and the upstream, which are present in your, which have been fetched in your local repository. Next, we would like to merge this upstream master to our local master, so that anything that was any commit that wasn't made earlier would be made right now. For that purpose, we could use three techniques. First would be just using merge. First, we would just go to our master branch, and then just git merge upstream master. In any case, if you have any doubt, just please write in chats, and someone please let me know what problems you are facing. It doesn't need to be related to the just the remote part. If it is related to anything, I would just tell you about it. When I do this, what it would do is just merge both of them. Okay, it would merge the master branch and the upstream master branch. So the commit that Priyan sir made would be reflected in our offline repository as well. So this can be done, but there is another way. What we could use in its place is git pull. So when you use git pull, you usually mention from which remote and from which branch you want to pull your code. You could just use git pull only, but what it would do, as we know, by default it would go to the remote and master branch and would pull those branches into and merge those branches into our local master. So you need to understand that git pull is actually the combination of fetching and merging. Just mention the remote repo in command, and it will fetch changes and merge those changes. Now let's do this, right? We want to fetch the changes from upstream, and we want to merge them, the master in upstream master into our master. So we will use git pull upstream master. Okay, so now the changes Priyan sir made are now can be seen here. Now, if I try to see if there is any difference between our master branch and the upstream master branch, that was the bit bytes TCP / first bit, you can see there is no difference here. Okay, now let's move on to the next part. We will try to upload the code. We will make some changes in the code, then we will upload that code. Okay, so for that, just open your VS Code or any editor. You can use Nano, Gedit, or simple VS Code or anything else. Just go to it, open folder, and open the first bit folder here. Then just go to public folder. Under public, there is a folder named directory, and in this directory, you need to create of a JSON file for by the name of your GitHub user ID. You could just write Manan Jetwani.json, and as it is my username for GitHub, I am creating it by that name. Just press enter. go to name.json.example and copy all the part of the code and just come here and paste it. Then just write your GitHub ID and all the details here. And okay, so one thing I want to tell you before we make a merge or add these things, I just want to tell you that never you should never try to do any of these kind of changes in master. You should first make those changes in another branch and then try to merge them. So for that purpose, we would just create another branch by the name of my branch, and when I press enter, you have been switched to a new branch, and you would see here now I would make these changes first, and I would just go and save these changes. Now after that, when I try to see the status, it shows that this file is not being tracked right now. So I will just go and write git add dot, and then if I see the status, and here it shows it is being tracked now. So now we need to make our commit so that we can upload this commit. My commit, and just mention your name or your user ID here so that these can be differentiated when we try to merge your pull request, and just press enter. So this has been made, and now we will move on to our next command, that is git push. So as we know, git pull was used to download the code and merge it. Git push is used to upload your local code to the repository. You can mention the git push remote and branch. These remote and branch are optional. If you don't write them, what push will do, it will just upload your code directly to the origin branch. Origin repository that was uploaded online, and it will take the branch currently you are working on, and it will try to upload that. Okay, so here we need to upload my underscore branch branch there. So we would just write git push origin and then my branch, and when I press enter, it would ask my user ID and password for security reasons so that it can upload. So now it has been uploaded. It shows here there is no error logging. So I will just go here, and as you can see now, this branch is one. I have created another branch named my branch. You can see it here. I can just go it and there. So this shows that the branch is one commit ahead of Bitbyte TPC master. What this means is that we have successfully pushed our code. We have made one commit and pushed it, and we also stacked that the commit that was made by Priyan sir, and we are just stacking our new commit upon that. Now, many of the times there would be chances that when you made some changes, they would conflict with the original code that was uploaded in your copy of your original repository, online copy of repository. So in those cases, you would require to write -- force here. This means that if there are any conflicts, just ignore them and just push this code above. Also, you can use -- all to just push all the branches that you have available locally to our online copy of that repository. Now, finally, we would make our first pull request. To make our first pull request, you can see that we have an option here, compare and pull request. If you did it in master, then this won't be showed, right? So you have to go to pull request. You have to click on new pull request. When you click on new pull request, you have these two options available here, drop down menus available. You can select from which repository you want to make a pull request and to which repository you want to make a request. So I want to make a request from my repository, that online copy of that repository, and from that I want to select the branch named as my branch. And so this shows that there are some differences here, and we are able to merge without any conflicts, and there are no issue in the code that we are using something the code is using something else and you have erased those part or anything else. So we can just click on create a pull request. It would ask you to write a comment about this pull request, so that if you have a discussion, you can tell this is my first commit under ESC session. And when I create a pull request, what it does is it creates a pull request. Now, if I want to see that pull request, I could just go here and in the original repository, and here the pull request is available. So there might be some tests that are being checked. There might be some checks, and after those your pull request passes those tests, you could just the manager, project manager, like those who have been contributing in this repository would just make those merge your code. Okay, so this is finally you made a pull request, but there is one more thing we need to discuss before ending this session. What if you wanted to track an online available branch, like you wanted to track GH actions? You don't have GH actions right now in your if you want to see here, you can see it here, git branch. Okay, you have my branch and master branch. You have you don't have that branch. You can check out that branch, but it won't be added to your local repository. For that purpose, we use the command git checkout -- track. What this does is, when I write git checkout -- track, and then I need to mention upstream GH actions, what it does is it just creates a local copy of that branch of the from the remote we have mentioned here, that was upstream. And so if I see now, I can see GH action as a new branch, and it is present in our in our local repository. So in this way you can and whenever you try to use git push or any other command like git pull, what it would do is just go to GH action in upstream and directly push it or pull it from that only. You don't have to write upstream, you don't have to write remote and what branch you need to add. Okay, so in this way this can be done. And that's it for now. These were the basics of Git, and I hope you liked the session. And if you have any doubt, you can just ask it here, or you can just post it afterwards on our Discord server anytime you want. And I want to discuss one thing else. Just there is a competition that is going that would start in October, named as Hacktoberfest. Okay, Hacktoberfest is just to increase the open source community. You don't need to make any you don't need any proper skills for that. You just need to contribute to open source. This for this Hacktoberfest, you just need to make 4 pull requests under your account. Last year, many of my batchmates made it, and they received a free T-shirt and stickers, and it is free of cost. You just have to make 4 pull requests. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to get merged or anything else. Just go to this site, and when the competition starts, it will just when the competition start, it will just show you you can register here, and after that you can just make your pull request, and you would receive a shirt and some stickers. That's it. So thank you. I hope you liked the session and stay tuned for more sessions ahead. I know this session was a bit basic and most of you might have got bored in some part, obviously, but as we move on ahead, though, there will be advanced concept, and this was needed as many of them doesn't even know what basics of what Git is, what basics of Git are. And thank you.